Okay, so welcome to today's session. In today's session, we'll be covering what are the different career options, new age career options for students in India. And we'll be looking at multiple career options in different streams, that is commerce, science, and humanities. In today's session, I will be showcasing you more than 300 plus career options, uh, which will give you a glimpse on there are so many career options and why we are just narrowing out for the typical career options which we have been hearing from last 40 years and 50 years, right? So this will be a eye-opening session. Just to those of you who are joining this session, this series for the first time, if I have to just give a short, brief introduction about myself, my name is Samrit Saxena, and I'm an NCDA certified career counselor. Uh, I'm also the founder of Teenage Career Forum. I've helped more than 7,500 plus students and parents make an informed career decision. So I come from a background of an engineering. I did my engineering, worked with corporates for almost 8 years with multinationals like Tata Power, Accenture Strategy. I worked in India and abroad. And then gradually I started realizing that I was stuck into a wrong career profession myself. And that's where the exploration into a right career selection started for me. And then eventually I realized that uh, something related to education and teaching is something which aligns most to me. And then since then, I have been helping students and parents make an informed career decision for their children, right? So this is a brief background about me. And yes, you are a part of this Career Clarity series, which we are covering. This is a 5 session series where every day we are trying to cover different aspects of career selection. Like we covered in the last 2 sessions, which was what are the biggest mistakes which parents make when they are making a career decision. And in the previous session, also we covered that how to understand your child scientifically, how to understand the interest and the talent of the child. Today's session is more focused on uh, what are the new age career options and what are the career options in science, commerce, and humanities, right? Before we begin this session, just would like to request all of you, please have a pen and paper with yourself because many of the careers you might be hearing for the first time. I'll be showcasing you more than 300 plus career options in today's session. So just take a notes, that would be helpful for you. And if you have any specific queries, I would be happy to answer those queries at the end of today's session. Yeah. So uh, let's begin. Let me, share my mind map. So very first thing which I just wanted to, touch upon is whenever we are making a career decision, uh, typically we see that there are streams. If we look at the streams, what are the streams available? We see these 3 streams. First is science, then we have commerce, and then comes humanities. Right. So these are the career 3 streams which we typically choose. Now, when it comes to science, commerce, and humanities, in today's time, the careers are not just limited to these streams. That is what we need to understand. Okay. Even somebody who has taken humanities subjects but has a combination of mathematics, like taken humanities plus uh, arts-based subjects plus humanities, they can also get into the field of data analysis, data analytics. Right. So it's not that only science and commerce people can get into the field of data analytics. Humanities person can also get into that if they have taken maths along with humanities. Right. So one thing which we need to understand that uh, the careers are now very much expandable, and you can change your career options irrespective of whatever streams you are coming, until unless that particular career demands a specific requirement or a stream requirement. Like for an example, let's take a example of engineering. Okay, engineering, or if you look at medical sciences, MBBS, these two have a specific requirement that yes, the child should have PCM, here the child should have PCB, right? That's mandatory. But apart from it, most of the career options are now you are able to switch into different streams. From different streams, you can land up into different careers, right? So that's first thing. Also, there are something called neutral career options. Okay. Neutral careers means irrespective of whatever stream you are joining in, either the child has taken science or commerce or humanities, the child can get into these neutral careers. What these neutral careers could be? Careers like design based careers, any stream, either from science, commerce, or humanities, you can get into that. Streams like careers like mass communication. You can come from any stream. You can get it in from any stream. Journalism, right? Even chartered accountancy, CA person. It's not mandatory that you have to do commerce, but yes, doing a commerce can help because you have taken those courses, right? For chartered accountancy, you don't need a degree. Even if you are 12th pass, if you have just done your 12th, you can get into that, right? So the point I was just trying to explain all of you is that in today's time, the hard boundaries which were there during maybe 10 years back or 5, 7 years back, that if you want to choose this career, you have to come from science background, that is diluting right now, right? Even students who have taken maths and humanities can get into good career options. Now let's look at what are the different career options and clusters in which you can get into, and what are the different career clusters we'll be touching up in today's session. So what we have done is I have categorized these career options into 22 different streams, okay, clusters basically, okay. So and we'll be seeing all these clusters, right? So first is pure science and mathematics. If the child has gone for a science-based option and mathematics-based option, then what are the career options which are available? But before I come over here, one more concept which I just want to share with all of you is that what should be the process. What is the right process when we are making a career decision, okay, or career pathway selection? So always it has to be first we need to finalize on the careers which are aligning with your child. Okay, that's first step. Second step is then we have to finalize with which course the child should go for in order to get into that particular career. So that's the second step. Then comes the stream selection. Which stream should be more suitable, and then accordingly you have to choose the subjects, right? So normally what mistake, this is the right method, which so the right method is this is how we should follow first, and before that also we need to understand the child's understanding. That is the first thing. You have to understand the child, then which is the right career option, which will be suitable for the child based on the aptitude, personality, interest, and value system of the child. And then comes career selection, then the course selection, and then comes the stream selection. The incorrect method, which mostly people follow, is that they first they choose the stream, and then they decide for course या career. This limit downs their, this narrow downs their career selection process. Okay. Also, it limits on a lot of multiple career options. Yeah. So this is something which we should avoid. First, we should look for which career the child should get into, and then accordingly plan out the process. So that's the right method. Rather than just choosing the stream and then figuring out that अभी stream तो choose कर लिया है, अब क्या करेगा बच्चा, कौन सा career ले सकते हैं. And in that case, many times it happens. Maybe the child will do really good with commerce, but the parents have taken humanity, has taken science. Okay. And the child becomes frustrated in science, not able to cope up with mathematics and physics, and that creates a challenge, right? So again, this method is what we should follow when we are making a career selection, right? So now let's look at what are the different. So today's topic is more focused on what are the different career options, new age career options. So I will be showcasing you what are the different 300 plus career options, and I will also be mentioning the rough streams also through which the child can land up into this particular stream, right? So now let's suppose, for an example, if the child loves, that the child is clear that wants to get into the field of research and mathematics or pure sciences. In that case, what do we mean by pure sciences? Pure sciences means getting into the field of research in science, either it be physics, mathematics, chemistry, biology, right? If the child carries that kind of temperament, where he wants to continue with research, education and teaching, academia, then getting into the field of pure science and mathematics could be suggested. What are the different career options within this? Okay, let's look at this. And yes, don't worry, I will be sharing the mind map of this today's session in the WhatsApp group as well. So nothing to worry on that. Right? So suppose if the child likes physics a lot, okay, what are the options in which the child can get into? Child can become a physicist, can get into astrophysics, right? Computational science, cognitive science, cytogenic technology, right? If the child is more interested towards biology, career options like getting into the field of genetics, right? Getting into food sciences, becoming a zoologist, getting into wildlife science could be suggested. Maths बहुत अच्छा लगता है. If the maths is something which the child really enjoys and want to do a research in that field, career options like getting into the field of quantum computing could be suggested. Becoming a statistician, getting into data science and data analysis. Okay, so these are the options which could be suggested. Also, options like cartography, which is what is cartographer? What does the cartographer do? Cartographers are the people who designs maps. Okay. So if somebody has taken humanities, geography, loves geography, at the same time has also taken maths, can get into cartography and GIS, that is geo information systems, right? If the child loves biology and mathematics, in that case, a career options like becoming a bioinformatician could be suggested for the child, right? So different options could be there in research-based career options, right? If suppose the child has taken humanities, loves psychology, also loves mathematics, in that case, cognitive science is something which the child can take, right? So what is cognitive science? Cognitive science is understanding of how does the human brain works, right? Then again, if the child is very much into research of viruses, bacteria, then bacteriology is one of the career options. Virology is something which you can choose, right? So these are the different options which you can get into if the child wants to get into the field of research. Okay. So that's the one of the options. Then comes, let's move to the second cluster. Next is computer science and information technology. So now suppose if the child wants to, if the child is clear that the child wants to do something in the field of computer science and IT, in that case, definitely going for PCM would be recommended, okay? Because that will help the child to think very logically. And career options in computer science and technology requires you to come from a physics, chemistry, maths kind of background, okay? We have seen that People who have taken commerce also but are having maths and they are very logical thinkers, they can also get into the field of computer science and information technology. Because in today's time, it's not stream restricted, it's more of a skill oriented thing. Skills matter more in today's time. And all these companies are looking out for people who can actually solve problems rather than just what kind of degree they are carrying. So as a parent, even if the child is coming from a different stream, but if the child has created the skill, has developed that kind of skill, the opportunity will be given to the child. But the child has to be really good at it. Yeah. So let's look at what are the options in computer science and information technology. So if the child wants to get into the field of computer science and information technology, in that case, the child can become an application programmer. The child can get into cyber security, can get into cloud computing, network administration, software engineering, quality and testing engineering, right? Health informatics. The child can also get into esports or gaming, development of game, right? Can get into database management, ERP consulting. Yeah. So these are the multiple options in which the child can get into if the child is clear that he or she wants to get into the field of computer science and technology, IT and computer science, right? So PCM is something which would be advisable if you are planning for computer science and information technology. Then comes third option. Let's look at that. Another cluster could be if the child is really good with designing. Physics is very good. Mathematics is something which the child loves. Designing is also drawing and has an inclination towards drawing, designing structures. If that is the case, career options in the field of architecture and planning could be suggested. Okay. Within architecture and planning, the child can get into becoming an architect, or the child can get into becoming a construction and infrastructure management or a manager, right? The child can get into design engineering, where you are designing the big buildings and structures and bridges, right? Also, you can get into, if the child is more towards aesthetic side of the things, then the child can get into landscape art, becoming a landscape architect. They can also get into city planning, urban planning, right? So these are the multiple options in the field of architecture. But again, if the child wants to get into architecture, definitely the child should have this inclination of uh, getting into, should have an inclination towards physics, mathematics, and designing. All three are important. Right? So that's another option. Now, then comes fifth, field of art and design. Purely wants to get into design, not interested in mathematics and all. Then in that case, getting into the field like becoming a fashion, getting into fashion designing, interior designing, okay, getting into something like visual merchandising. What does a visual merchandiser do? You have seen in malls, when you're passing by a mall, okay, there is a specific way how the clothes are arranged, which looks very appealing to the customers, right? So who designs that? That's done by visual merchandisers. Okay. They work in the garment industry. Okay. Then you can get into, if you are more into technical kind of design, okay, you can get into fields like vehicle designing, you can get into fields like machine designing, right? Industrial designing, product designing. These are the options which can come up, right? So if designing and drawing is something which your child is fascinated by, these are the options you can consider. Some of the good colleges, if we look at in India for the field of designing, you can consider NIFTs, that is National Institute of Fashion Technologies. You can look out for NID, which is the best in India for designing, National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad, and they have multiple branches as well. You can also look out for options like UCEED. UCEED is an exam, UCEED. If you want to get into mechanical or industrial kind of designing or automobile type of design. So for that, you can go for a UCEED exam, and you can get into colleges like IIT Bombay. They have a separate department, which is Department of Design. There you can get a degree in bachelor's in design, right? So, and apart from it, definitely there are many private colleges and all, right? So that's the next option in the field of art and design. Then comes animation, graphics, and video editing. See, for animation, graphics, and video editing, we usually don't recommend that you go for any particular course. Okay. No need for going for a particular course. What the child can do is they can go for diploma-based courses. Okay. Diploma in the field of, animation and game designing, graphic designing, web designing. So these are different types of options within animation, graphics, and video editing, which the child can go for. No need for going for a degree-based program because this is more towards skill-based career option. But diploma in animation, media technology, web designing, game designing, graphic designing could help, right? So that's the another option which you can. So this is again a skill-based career option which can be looked into. Then comes legal services. Again, legal services is a career option in which students from all the three streams can get into. Students from all streams can get into. It's not related. It's not like you have to be coming from humanities background, right? Student from humanities, science, commerce, all three are open to participate in law-based career. But if you are clear that you want to go for law, taking humanities helps you because it helps you in getting an idea how the history has evolved, how the political science of the country has evolved, how the constitution works. All these subjects helps you if you are planning for law and you have decided for that. So then going for humanities makes more sense than going for engineering and then gradually shifting into the field of law, right? So when it comes to law, within law, you can get into different specializations. Okay? So you can get into civil law, where you are dealing with civil matters, which is land-based matters. You can get into corporate law, where you are dealing more towards corporate issues. You are dealing with more towards, whatever the arbitrations are there happening, right? You can get into criminal law, cyber law, human rights law, marine law. You can get into intellectual property law, which is also a very good career option in today's time and very upcoming career option. Because nowadays, with advancement of internet and everything has come on internet, right? So whatever the intellectual properties are there, they need to be protected, right? So they need intellectual property lawyers. If you feel that you don't want to become a lawyer, then what you can do is, and you can also become a judge, right? You can become a judge in the Supreme Court, in the High Court, and then definitely, so there is a process for that where the judicial services examinations happen, right? So that is also one of the ways you can chalk out your career in the field of legal studies, right? So that's one of the options which can be considered. Then comes mass communication. Again, mass communication, from all the three streams, you are eligible for getting into this career option of mass communication. Again, here, if we look at what do we mean by mass communication means all those career options where we are communicating with masses. Whatever the career options in which we are communicating with masses, those represents the mass communication as a field. Okay. Advertisement. Okay. What does an advertising professional do? It creates an advertising and that advertisement reaches to the masses. Okay. So you can get into the field of advertising, you can get into public relations, you can get into film production, production design, media management, you can get into film editing, you can get into cinematography, right? So these are the multiple options within the field of mass communication. Again, all three streams you can get into, but preferred is humanities because it opens your mind, it helps you to understand the philosophical side of mass communication, right? But you can also come from commerce background or science background and get into the field of mass communication, right? So these are the different career clusters over there. Then comes journalism. Journalism is specifically related to becoming a journalist. Okay, so within journalism, you can get into multiple fields. If you are very fascinated by sports, you can get into sports journalism. If you're fascinated by business and finance, you can get into finance and business journalism. If you are very much interested into geopolitical situations happening nowadays, you can get into international affairs, become a journalist who expertise in international affairs. Okay, if you are very much fond of learning how these political framework works, you can become a political journalist. So within journalism, there are multiple options. If you are fascinated by fashion or technology, you can get into fashion journalism. You can get into technology-based journalism. Key aptitude which a student should carry, they should be really good with uh, their communication skills. They should have this ability to do a lot of research. Also, a kind of extrovert personality helps. Okay, for introvert, it could be difficult to excel in the field of journalism because the career demands like that. You can also get into copywriting, creative writing, right? So these are the different options within the journalism. Then comes education and teaching. If you are somebody who is fascinated by knowledge, who loves to take knowledge, who loves to give knowledge, if you are a knowledge seeker yourself and you are a knowledge giver, then something related to education and teaching could be suggested for the child. And uh, you should also have this ability to do a lot of research, deep dive into the knowledge part, right? So if that is the case, multiple options like getting into the academic research, becoming a foreign language expert, getting into becoming a professor in college, or you can get into school-based education like becoming a teacher, right? Working with coachings, working with schools, right? You can get into counseling, right? So these are the multiple. You can get into education administration where you are administrating the entire education network, right? You can get into instructional design where you are curating courses, coming up with new courses. So that's also a good option where you can also get into fields like uh, getting into designing new courses and working with training organizations, right? Training organizations, coaching organizations who trains for the corporates, right? So these are the multiple options in the field of education and teaching which can be considered. Then comes 11th career cluster, which is business management. Again, education and teaching is not just restricted to humanities. Okay? You can get into this field from multiple directions. Somebody from humanity, arts, commerce and science, all three can get into these options. In today's time, see, the scenario is changing. Now, educators are very well paid. Okay, we need good educators, right? So, if you look at all these coaching institutes, they are paying in crores to these educators. Right? Their salary packages more than crore also. 1.5 crores, 95 lakhs, 80 lakhs per annum kind of salary packages they are getting, right? But you should have that capability and you should have a genuine love to teach others. That is a very important trait which you should carry if you want to make a career in the field of education and teaching. You should enjoy teaching, you should love reading a lot. Yeah. Then comes business management. Business management, again, this field is open for all the three streams. So let's look at what are the career options in business management. In business management, you can get into the fields like human resource management. If your child is somebody who loves to interact with humans more, he's more people centric and carries empathy. Understanding of people is something which the child uh, inclines towards, then human resource management can be suggested. Operations management is there. Finance management में जा सकता है बच्चा. International business management में जा सकता है. Supply chain operations में जा सकता है. Right. Regulatory affairs is something which the child can look out for. Right. Actuarial sciences is something if the child loves to uh, really enjoy mathematics, then actuaries is something which the child can think of and then get into insurance management kind of roles, right? So multiple options in the field of business management as well. Again, this is not restricted to any specific stream, but yes, people from commerce, it is suggested for people coming from commerce and science background. Okay. Also, people from humanity. Suppose if the child is very good with human dealings, okay, understands the human to human behavior more. Somebody who has done psychology can also go for a human resource management kind of career option. Somebody who is really good with mathematics can get into fields like operation management. Okay. Somebody who loves finance and commerce and accounting, then finance management could be suggested, right? So different options within the field of business management. Then comes finance, banking, and insurance. Again, this if you are clear that you want to get into the field of finance and banking and insurance, definitely commerce is something which would be recommended. Second option would be even students from science are getting into this field. Okay, science-based stream and commerce. These two are most preferred stream if you want to land up into a career in finance, banking, and insurance. Okay. Within that, what are the career options? You can get into financial research, you can get into equity research, you can become a financial planner, you can get into investment banking, risk management में जा सकता है बच्चा, microfinance professional बन सकता है, financial examiner, fraud examination में जा सकता है, then you can get into becoming a chartered accountant definitely, can get into portfolio management, can become a mutual fund expert, right? If the child really loves economics, then economic research में बच्चा जा सकता है और economic consulting में जा सकता है, economist बन सकता है. Like if you look at examples like Manmohan Singh, Dr. Manmohan Singh, he is an economist, right? So these are the different options in the field of finance, banking, and insurance. If you're coming from a commerce-based background, these are some of the options which you may look up to, right? Then comes marketing and sales. If the child is really good with communication skills, has the ability to negotiate and communicate properly, options in the field of marketing and sales could be suggested, right? Again, marketing sales is not specific to any career, any particular stream, but yes, coming from a commerce or humanities based background would be a better choice if you want to get into marketing and sales kind of profiles. Within marketing and sales, so what is marketing and what is sales? If I have to define it in a single line, marketing is all about creating a brand perception. Okay, how do we create a perception about a different brand? So suppose, let's suppose, for an example, when we hear of the word Tatas, what is the first thing that comes to our mind, right? The very first thing that comes to our mind is probably the trust factor which Tatas carries. So that's the brand value which they are communicating. That's the marketing aspect. Okay. What do we mean by sales? Sales happens when the transaction happens. So if you're purchasing something, that is considered under the sales. Okay. So there's a difference between marketing and sales that we should be clear. One of the highest paid skills in today's time is the ability to sell. Salespeople are the people who earn a lot in whatever field they are, in whatever companies they are. Salespeople earn a huge amount of money because sales is one of the department which brings money to the organization, right? But it is important that we have to add value. We should not sell any crappy product we are selling now. The product should definitely add a significant value in the customer's life. That is something which we should consider when we are opting for a sales profession, right? So what are the different options in sales and marketing? You can get into brand management, you can become a growth hacker or a growth marketer, you can get into market research, you can get into digital marketing, because nowadays a major segment of things have shifted towards online marketing, right? And we need people who are good digital marketers, SEO experts, and all, right? You can get into sales management, you can get into fields like international marketing management, you can become a media professional, right? So these are multiple options within the field of sales and marketing. Then comes options like hospitality, tourism, and transport. Okay, if the child is service oriented, loves to help others, okay, loves to serve, okay, because this particular career cluster requires a lot of humility, a lot of service attitude. Okay, that is the core thing. So within that, you can get into fields like becoming a hospitality. You can get into hospitality services like hotel management. You can become a hotel management professional. You can become a chef. You can get into commercial, becoming a commercial pilot. You can get into ATC, that is air traffic control, right? You can get into uh, planning of travel planning and all, right? So in today's time, we are seeing that there are many companies coming up who can help you plan your entire travels and trip because people don't have time. Okay, so they hire these agencies which can help them plan their vacations, right? So if you are somebody who loves to travel, so you can start something of those sorts, or you can work with all these good major companies who are in that field of travel and tourism, right? But definitely, this is a service based industry. You have to carry that service based attitude. Again, people from all three backgrounds can get into all three streams: humanities, science, and commerce. All the three stream students can get into this field. Uh, Preferred is humanities or commerce, and even science students get into this. So, for an example, if you want to become a pilot, so it is mandatory that you should have physics and maths. If physics and maths is very much mandatory, then only you will be able to become a pilot. In your 11th and 12th, that is something which you should have, right? Because see, becoming a pilot is not just about flying aeroplanes. It's also about taking care of 320 and 400 lives which are there on the aircraft, right? And you should have that understanding that how does the engine functions, how the propeller works. That will happen if you have an understanding of physics and mathematics, right? So that's important. Then comes options like getting into the field of government services and defense. What are the options within there? That if you want to get into the field of government services, want to serve back the country, then you can get into the fields like Indian Army, Air Force, Navy. You can become an Indian Administrative Officer, IS officer, Income Tax Officer, Indian Revenue Services. You can get into. You can get into foreign services, Indian foreign services. You can give exams like SSC, CGL, and can work with all these ministries. Okay, like we have different ministries: education ministry, we have finance ministry, we have foreign ministry, defense ministry. All these ministries, their recruitment happens from SSC, CGL kind of exams, right? Then you can get into railways, Indian Railways. You can work there. You can work with RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India. They have multiple exams, grade A exams, grade B exam officer exams are there, right? You can get into Indian Forest Services. You can get into state civil services. If you're very fond of mathematics and all, you can also look out for options like Indian Statistical Services, right? So these are the different options within government and defense services. If you love to serve back country, you want to work into government jobs, these are some of the options which can be considered. Then comes medical science. When I'm talking about medical science, it's about becoming an MBBS doctor. Again, one more thing, in government services and defense services, usually you can get into all these subjects, all these services from all three backgrounds. Either you are a science student or commerce students or humanities students, you can get into that, right? Most of them. Some of the options may have specific requirement, like for an example, defense services, they have a separate entrance for technical entry scheme, which is called TES. So that is only for people who are coming from science background. But in general, it is open for all people from humanities, commerce, as well as science. So usually you will find most of the government jobs are open for all the three streams. But we have to deep dive and you have to be very, very specific. That these specific options, for these specific options, you have to come from a specific stream, right? Then comes science, medical science. When we are talking about medical science, again, this is about becoming a doctor, MBBS doctor. So here you can become an anesthesiologist, you can get into cardiology, you can become a dentist, you can become a immunology, physiologist, radiologist, psychiatrist, vascular surgeon, veterinary doctor, general physician, forensic medicine expert, right? You can get into orthodontics, you can get into fields like ENT, emergency and critical care, right? So multiple options within the field of medical science and need. But one thing which is important, this stream requires you to come from a PCB background, that is physics, chemistry, biology has to be there. Okay. So physics, chemistry, and biology is mandatory if you want to get into medical science through NEET. Yeah. Then comes allied medical sciences. Allied medical sciences, what do we mean by allied medical sciences? Allied medical science means these are those career options which supports the doctors. Okay. So let's take an example. In a hospital, a doctor would come and just look at your reports and just diagnose you that this is what we need to do, right? But what are the different professions which are supporting the doctor? The diagnostic people who are actually doing the test, okay, the nursing staff who is taking care of the patient, the radiologist, the x-ray department, right, the bacteriologist, all these people, the physiotherapist, the occupational therapist, all these comes under the allied medical science career option. Okay. So if you look at career options in allied medical sciences, it's not about becoming a doctor but supporting the doctor. So you can get into fields like becoming a cardiovascular technologist. You can get into becoming a neuroscience technologist, physiotherapist, occupational therapist. You can become a radiotechnologist. You can get into public health administration. You can become a genetic counselor. You can get into geriatric care. What is geriatric care? Geriatric care is taking care of old people, right? You can become a cosmetologist. You can get into naturopathy, homeopathy, Ayurveda, right? You can become a nutritionist and dietitian and work with hospitals. You can work with hotels, or you can start something of your own. You can start your own practices, right? So these are the multiple options within the field of occupational therapy, right? Sorry, within the field of allied medical sciences. Yeah. So these are the some options which you can consider. Then comes fitness, well-being, and nutrition. If you're somebody who is a fitness freak, you can go for diploma-based courses. Not necessarily that you have to do a degree-based courses. You can also take diploma-based courses and get into these options like getting into music therapy, becoming a nutritionist, getting into sports science, becoming a sports coach. You can get into sports psychology, sports medicine, right? Very upcoming field, lot of demand is there. Not many people are getting into this, right? So sports psychology is there. Virtual health therapists are upcoming option. Nutritionists are in high demand in today's time because most of the people are now becoming very conscious about their health. Okay. So these are the multiple options within the field of fitness, well-being, and nutrition, which could be considered. Definitely, there are many diploma-based courses which can be taken. Then comes agriculture and food science. If you are somebody who loves, who loves to study biology, want to get into studying how does the agriculture works, okay, or how can we improve on the food science and technology aspect, then these are the options. Again, for fitness, well-being, and nutrition, you can come from either of branches like science, commerce, humanities. But if you are going for this fitness, well-being, and nutrition, definitely a PCB is something which would be recommended. Physics, chemistry, and biology combination would be recommended, right? Because it opens you with a lot of career options. Agriculture and food science, again, what stream would be recommended? PCB, physics, chemistry, biology kind of stream would be recommended. So what are the different career options over here? You can become an agriculture biotechnologist, you can get into dairy technology, you can become food scientist, you can become a soil scientist, forestry professional, right? You can get into dairy technology, horticulturist, culturist. So these are the multiple professions in which you can get into. So these are each topic can be discussed for 30 minutes each, whatever the career I'm showcasing, right? We can deep dive into these further into 30 minutes, 40 minutes discussions. But uh, today's session is not to deep dive into individual options. Today's session is more focused on helping you understand what are the different career clusters and what are the different career options which are available, so that you make an aware and informed decision for your child, right? Then comes performing arts. What do we mean by performing arts? Performing arts means wherever you are performing, either it be dance, drama, drawing, dramatics. Okay, so within performing arts, you can get into fields like becoming an actor, musician, singer, theater artist, script writer, dancer. You can get into modeling, fashion modeling, and all. You can get into photography. All these comes under performing arts career option. Again, this is more of a skill-based thing. Okay, how good you are, how good the child is in these options. Okay, usually we recommend that performing arts, uh, until unless the child is very sure and is doing really great, this can be considered as a secondary career option, which the child can keep on exploring along with their primary career. Right? So suppose somebody wants to become a singer. Okay, so let's get a good job, try to parallelly build your music profile and all, and then send it to these production houses and go for audition, right? Because the probability of success is very thin in these options. The earning capability also comes up at the very later stage of life when you are really very successful, right? So that has to be considered. Then comes options in humanities, liberal arts, and social sciences. What are the different options if you want to get into liberal arts and social sciences? Then you can look out for career options like getting into the field of psychology, like clinical psychology, career psychology, sports psychology. That is one option. If the child loves political science, you can become a political scientist. You can get into fields like social work, like becoming a social work. You can go for courses like bachelor's in social work, master in social work. You can get into fields like public policy and public relations, public policy and policy expert बन सकते हो आप अगर political science बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है तो आप consulting roles में आप जा सकते हो, right? You can get into the field of education and teaching. You can get into anthropology and research, right? You can get into digital rights researcher, become a digital rights researcher. Okay? You can get into fields like psephology. What does a psephologist do? A psephologist are the people who investigates or who do research on how has the uh, voting gone. Like voting, when we say that, we see that this voting happening every 5 years, right? So these are the people who does research on which party will win, why that party will win, what is the notion of the people, right? So that is done by psephologists, right? So multiple options over here in the field of liberal arts and social sciences, which can be considered. Also, if you are somebody who are very good in language, okay, so you can take one of the language and specialize in that, and then you can get into either in the field profession of teaching, or you can get into becoming a corporate trainer kind of roles. So that could also be done. So these are the different options. And yes, definitely one of the options many of you might be interested into, that is engineering and technology, right? We did not cover this. So if you want to get into the field of engineering and technology, definitely you have to take PCM, that is mandatory. Physics, chemistry, and math has to be there. And within engineering and technology, what are the career options? Again, multiple career options within engineering and technology. You can get into becoming a green technologist. You can get into extended reality. You can get into artificial intelligence. You can get into EV technology, that is electric vehicle technologist ban sakte ho aap. You can get into robotics. You can get into mechatronics. Again, you can get into fields like cognitive science, right? Space technology, water resource engineering, transportation engineering, food engineering, right? Naval architecture, nanotechnologists, environmental engineering, right? So multiple options in the field of engineering which can be considered. But if you are choosing engineering, you have to be very clear why you want to become an engineer. Don't go for engineering just because everybody is going on. Yeah. I come from an engineering background, and I've seen people who are just struggling in engineering based field. They're not enjoying, they're cribbing their jobs. The reason they are doing their job is because they have the bills to pay. Yeah. So as a parent, just don't copy paste what different other people are going for. If you look at the data, if you look at the data in the field of engineering or medical sciences, uh, every year approximately 14 lakh people apply. 14 lakh students are applying for this. And out of which, if we look at government seats, if you look at government seats, good colleges, rather I would say suggest good colleges. If you look at good colleges, hardly there will be around 55,000 to 1 lakh seats, like 50, 60, 55,000 seats would be there, which are good colleges seats. Apart from it, it's just like, you know, filling up the thing, right? Same as with medical sciences as well. Good colleges, if you want, 24 lakh people apply for it, right? So be very careful if you are really want to get into engineering, why you want to do that. Does the child's aptitude, personality, and interest is aligning with that? Because most of the people, they do engineering and then they figure out what next to do in life. And the 6 years of the precious life, which is 11th and 12th, preparing for engineering, where the parents are putting in a lot of money in just preparation of engineering, 2.5 lakh, 3 lakh rupees, 1.5 lakh rupees, they're just paying for the coaching. And then they realize that the child is not able to score, right? And the child is not liking this. So it's a lot of waste of time, energy, and money, which goes. Then after getting into engineering, again 4 years, gotten into a mediocre college, not getting a placement, and then people start thinking, "Ki ab kya karna hai?" Right? So don't get into that trap. If you're planning for engineering, aim for the best colleges. Then that will give you a good return. Yeah. Uh, so that's about engineering and technology. These are the options which are there. Then comes many parents ask that what are the biology based career options except NEET. So if you are interested in biology and chemistry, these are some of the options which can be considered, like fields like biotechnology. Within biotechnology, you can get into different sectors. Yeah. You can get into medicine and vaccine development kind of roles. You can get into industrial roles like working on biofuels, oil, mining, chemical industry, right? Then you can get into fields like agriculture. You can create pest resistant crops, you know. Then you can get into bioinformatics, which is a combination of both mathematics and biology, where you are gathering, storing, and analyzing biological data, right? Then comes pharmaceutical, where you can get into development of drugs and vaccine. So that could be one of the options which can be considered. Then comes food production process, like you can get into food production. Uh, you can also get into fields like legal and ethical aspects of biotechnology, because nowadays we have seen during COVID times that even biological weapons can create massive destruction, right? So it is very important that the ethical and the legal side of biotechnology has to be you know, we have to be very watchful of that. That could be done through creating proper legal protections, right? So somebody who has taken biology and would like to do law maybe in future can go for this aspects as well. Within biotechnology, you can look out for generating high yielding crops. Okay, you can get into agriculture chemical firms. You know, get into petrochemical, biofuels, water usage and water generation kind of waste generation kind of aspects. These are also part of biotechnology, which comes into picture. Then definitely environmental science, agriculture, microbiology, nutrition and dietetics, biochemistry, genetics, audiology, marine science, food sciences, botany, zoology, nursing, veterinary sciences, hospital management, medical writing, forensic science, pharmaceutical, nature conservation, biomedical engineering. So these are the multiple options within bio. So if if you don't want to become a doctor, right? So these are the options which you can keep in mind if you love bio plus chemistry and but don't specifically want to become a, right? So these are the 22 different career clusters which I shared with all of you, that these are 300 plus career options which can be considered, right? Again, for bio, definitely a background from PCB would be helpful. Okay. humanities and liberal arts kind of career option, any student can get into. Like people from humanities can also get into. Yes, definitely humanities. अगर history में आपको कुछ specialize करना है, anthropology में करना है, definitely coming from a humanities background could help. But if you have taken science, but you have taken extra subject in humanities, like history आपने extra subject ले रखा है, या फिर आपने anthropology ले रखा है, या psychology ले रखा है, तो again also you can get into that field, right? So yes, so that's what I wanted to cover in today's session. Maybe it's almost 1 hour into the session. I hope you got an idea of what are the different career clusters and options. If we have any quick questions, we can take that now. What you can do is you can raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask the question specific to today's session, or in general, if you have any specific queries for your child. And also, it would be great if you can share in which class your child is studying. If you can share that in the chat box, and from which city you are joining.